Hey guys, this is Tauna. Today we're going to talk about which Edge of Eternity Precon you should be buying. Today we're going to go through both the decks. We're going to talk about which I think is best. However, given there is only two, we're going to be talking in context to other Precons as well, like all recent Precons, because personally, while I can say, hey, this one's the best out of these two, it's like, the other one's still second, right? Like, it's still a great Precon. And spoiler, both of these decks are looking really, really great. Now, before we do get into it, I do want to apologize. I've been having a few bad mental health days lately, and my wife's been ill for the past month, so things have been a little bit harder in regards to making content. So mostly this week, I'm going to be trying to go harder onto it, do a whole bunch of other stuff, and I do have a little teaser as to something that I have set up yesterday. I have to work on like the lighting and stuff like that to make it a bit clearer, but we have a new top-down camera that I'm hoping works really well. It looks like it's going to work well, and once I get the focusing right and stuff like that, it's going to look great. And also spoilers as to my new mat that I've got, my desk mat. I have both a new desk mat and a new play mat from one of these companies over here in Australia that I want to show you guys as well. So let's go through it. First up, we've got the World Shaper one here. There's 12 new cards, and this one is built around sacrificing your lands for value and then bringing them back from the graveyard. And there's a lot of sacrifice synergy, which is really great. I was not expecting it, but I'm really happy with it because it definitely kind of distinctly moves it away from being basically the same deck as the OTJ one, the Desert Bloom deck from there. So it's more about like the actual sacrificing lands, there's sacrificing creatures and stuff, and then slowly kind of building up your board from there. Into the new cards, we've got Hearthhull, which is our face commander here, which lets you sacrifice your lands, draw cards. You can play an additional land this turn. And then also, eventually, once you get those 8 charge counters on it, becomes a flying, vigilance, haste creature with whenever you sacrifice a land, each opponent loses 2 life. It is great. I love the Hearthhull. It's really cool. And because of the new rule with Edge of Eternities, that can actually be your commander as well, because it's a spaceship with the power and toughness down here. Next up, we've got Srazrel, Genesis Shepherd, as your secondary commander here, flying. Whenever you can play lands from your graveyard, and then whenever you sacrifice another non-token permanent during your turn, you put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to Srazrel's power on up to one other target creature. Now, I do love Srazrel, but I do think that I like the Hearthhull as a better commander. You do have to have something out before Hearthhull comes out, most likely, to at least get to this 2+ as fast as possible, but still, I just think it's a better commander, in my opinion, as opposed to Srazrel that works better in the 99. All right, we've got the Beloff Prime here, enters with stun counters. Whenever you sacrifice a land, you're going to create a 4/4 and then untap it and then pay 4, sacrifice a land, gain 2 life. It's also a big 10/10. This is actually bonkers, especially for like the Hearthhull, right? You bring in the Hearthhull, somehow you sacrifice a land, however you do that, whether through Hearthhull or something else, and then you can tap Beloff to crew it, and then that's just 10 charge counters, boom. We've got Exploration Broodship here. Once you've got 3+ charge counts on it, you can play an additional land, and then it's also got flying. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a permanent spell from your graveyard by sacrificing a land in addition to paying its other costs. Evendo Brushrazor here, a nice impulse draw. Whenever you sacrifice a non-token permanent, exile the top card of your library, and then you can play those as long as you've sacrificed a non-token permanent this turn. You can also tap it to sack a land. Immedial Waste Waker here. Whenever it attacks, you and a defending player each discard a card or sacrifice a permanent, and then you draw a card for each land card put into a grave this way. Immedial Hatchery, tap, pay 1 life, add black, put hatchling on it, and then whenever you sacrifice this or whenever it goes to the graveyard from the battlefield, for each hatchling counter, create a 1/1 black insect. Horizon Explorer, lands you control enter untap. Whenever you attack a player, create a land token, a lander token, which is whenever you sacrifice it, pay 2, tap it, sacrifice it, search your library for a basic, put onto the battlefield, tap. Planetary Annihilation. Someone brought up that this makes this deck a tier 4 deck, and I can kind of understand that, like a bracket 4 deck, because it is mass land destruction, right? Like, it is huge. I don't know if it's going to be I don't think it makes it a bracket 4 just because of that. Like, that innately, like, by the actual set rules, yes. However, the bracket system's not meant to be set rules. It's meant to be more something like, that can enable that discussion. I don't know. This isn't too bad in regards to the kind of splattering of mass land destructions we've got. So I don't think it makes a bracket 4 immediately, but still a great card. Scouring Swarm, essentially the opposite of like a Scoot Swarm. Scoot Swarm is whenever a land enters, create those insects. This is whenever you sacrifice a land, create the insects. They also come in taps, so less abusable. We've got Festering Thicket and Vernal Fern, which are both 2 new lands. They're going to be continuing on a new cycle in these, finishing off that cycle for both the discard, the cycling lands here, and then I think they called them Tango lands because you need 2 or more basics for them. All right, now if you are liking this content so far, make sure you subscribe, share the video around, all that kind of stuff. It hugely helps. You know, I've got a big tracker over here that shows me how many subscribers I've got. It's like just a huge like mental pump seeing this number go up. So thank you so much for everyone who's subscribed and everything. Notable reprints, we've got Corvold got reprinted, and that was the one that I saw and I'm like, okay, this deck is actually bonkers, right? He just cares about sacrificing any permanents, not even lands, right? And he enters the battlefield, sacrifice a permanent. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, put counters on him, draw a card. In fact, I do think that he's potentially even a better commander than either of the 2 set, like the actual commanders that are built for it. We've got Morog, Fury of Coom. Whenever a land enters, you get additional main combat phase if it is your main phase. Great, right? Like amazing card. Oracle of Moldiah lets you play lands from the top of your library, as well as play an additional land. We've got the Braids Arisen Nightmare. The whole point of this one is to make it so you can sacrifice your lands, and then either opponents give you card draw and take life, or they sacrifice a land themselves. Great card. We've got Fabled Passage here. A great, again, a huge, right? Like this is one of the best, like, basic fetch lands. It's like the best version of like Evolving Wilds, essentially, right? But this one here is barely ever reprinted. Was reprinted most recently within Bloomburrow, and it's just great to see it here in a Precon of all things. There's a whole bunch of here that are with it between that $4 and $2 mark as well. Notably, like the Gitrog monster is amazing in this deck. 8th Aftermath Analyst lets you bring back all those lands from your graveyard. You know, Mazarek synergies as well with the sacrificing. It's great. I love this deck. It's so great. Notable combos as well. I do want to talk about this one very briefly. The Gitrog monster plus Dakamore Salvage is an infinite self-mill. So at the beginning, how it works is during your cleanup, if you have more than the maximum hand size, so say you have 8 cards in hand, right? You discard the Dakamore Salvage. Now, because a land went into your graveyard, Gitrog Monster allows you to draw a card. Instead of drawing that card, use the replacement effect of Dakamore Salvage to return it back to your hand and mill 2 cards. Right? Then you still have more than the maximum hand size. So now you need to discard again. You discard the Dakamore Salvage. You do all that stuff again. So you can mill yourself out with this, which isn't obviously great to mill yourself out until you remember that you've got stuff like, you know, Aftermath Analyst in here. Return all those lands from the graveyard to the battlefield. Oh, look, I milled all my lands down to I've got like, you know, so I just will keep 10 cards in my graveyard. 10 cards in my deck. Now I've got like, you know, my 30 odd lands in my graveyard, and now I'm just going to bring them all back. It's huge. It's great. I honestly, like, someone brought up that this could have been an accident and they did this. I doubt it was an accident they did this, but it's still huge. All right. Overall thoughts. This Precon is just very, very solid out of the box. I really love that it's focuses on that sacrificing of lands rather than just getting him to the graveyard in any way like the OTJ Precon does. Don't get me wrong. Yuma is my favorite Precon of all time. I absolutely love my Desert Bloom Precon, but now I'm going to have 2 decks that play similar, but do it in a very different way, which is great. I love it. There's some huge reprints within this. I really like Hearthhull, and it reminds me a lot of the Wintergrace Precon, but like just so much better. I think that honestly, this deck is just amazing. It's good. All right. Going to the counterintelligence one. So we'll get into like a summary at the end, by the way. Counterintelligence deck list. So this one has just insane reprints. I was really, really shocked at the great reprints within this deck. And some of them I did not expect. I did not expect they'd ever reprint some of these within Precons. This one is built around charge counters primarily, but there's some +1/+1 counters, and it's all done through like artifacts or artifact creatures. And repeating, you know, artifacts are a pretty huge part of this, which is good. I'm not going to complain about that. So into the new cards, we've got the Inspirit Flagship Vessel. So this is the base commander. It's got station 1. Once you get that 1 charge counter on it, it's going to buff up a creature, either a +1/+1 counter onto a creature or 2 charge counters onto an artifact. It doesn't even need to be a creature. You can put charge counters on an artifact if you want. And then once it gets to 8+, it's going to have flying, and other artifacts you control have hexproof and indestructible. Kilo Apogee Mind is your secondary commander, and he goes infinite like that. Really great, really easy to go infinite with him, which also makes it so it's infinite proliferates. So he's got haste. Whenever he becomes tapped, proliferate. Boom, you're just going to continuously proliferate things, which is great because now that's going to add in all your charge counters and all of your +1/+1 counters. Keep in mind, again, like before we go through like the new cards and everything, Station uses charge counters. It is tap another creature you control, puts charge counters equal to its power onto the spacecraft. So you can get easily these things crewed thanks to Kilo and other, like, you know, proliferate stuff. We've got Athros Research Craft here. It's got station. 3+ is whenever you cast a artifact spell, draw a card, put a charge counter on this spacecraft, and then flying. This spacecraft gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. That thing's going to get huge. Plus it gets to draw a card too. We've got the Surge Conductor here. Whenever a non-token artifact you control enters, proliferate. Just huge proliferation there. Solar Array. This deck also has my favorite card at the new set in it. Solar Array, tap, add 1 mana of any color. Whenever you cast an artifact this way, that spell gains Sunburst. So Sunburst is, it enters with a +1/+1 counter on it for each color of mana spent to cast it. And then otherwise it enters with that many charge counters. So if you do this, and you can add any mana with this, right? It doesn't even need to be in your color. So you can add like black mana. Say you cast something with 4 CMC, right? You pay the 3 like blue, red, white that you've got base, and then you tap this for black, and then you add black mana, and then you cast it. That's going to enter with 4 +1/+1 counters on it, or 4 charge counters. It's great. This is my favorite card. This is my absolute favorite new card. Patrolling Peacemaker. This creature enters with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Whenever an opponent commits a crime, proliferate. People are going to commit crimes all the time, right? Like that's just something that happens. So an opponent will commit a crime whenever they target an opponent that they can have. So any opponent that they have. So that could be you. It could be any of the other 2 players. Anytime, anything an opponent controls, if they target an opponent, anything they control, or cards in that opponent's graveyard, to proliferate, you choose any number. So you're going to proliferate anytime they target basically anything that someone else controls. It is absolutely crazy. Oh boy, it's bonkers. Like they counter spell, boom, that's a crime. They, destroy something, that's a crime. They remove your graveyard, that's a crime. It's crazy great. We've got Moxite Refinery here. Pay 2, tap it, remove X counters from an artifact or creature you control. Choose 1. You get to move those counters. You pay 2, you move counters to a different artifact or a different creature. However, you also can change those counters. So you say you remove charge counters from your station because it's got up to 50 charge counters because you just proliferated that much. You can move those over onto a creature as +1/+1 counters. That's great. We've got Long Range Sensor here. Whenever you attack a player, put a charge counter on it, and then pay 1, remove 2 charge counters from it, discover 4. Once you start proliferating, you can get 3 charge counters on this in a turn because you attack 3 different players, right? You can start proliferating this. You're going to get like discover. Anything that's 4 CMC or lower, it's coming out of your deck. It's out. We've got Insight Engine, pay 2, tap it, put a charge counter on it, then draw a card for each charge counter on it. This is like a budget 1 ring. This is like a budget 1 ring. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, I absolutely love this card too. Depth Shaker Titan. When it enters, any number of target non-creature artifacts you control become 3/3 artifact creatures. You sacrifice them at the beginning of your next end step. Each artifact creature you control has melee, trample, and haste. So you bring this in. Now all those 50 treasures that you got sitting there are all 3/3s with melee, trample, and haste. Now, when I initially talked about this, I got melee wrong because I thought melee granted it to everything. No, it just grants it to itself. So now each of those is whenever you attack, if you're attacking 3 different things, right, you're going to have 6 sixes because you're attacking 3 different people. They each get +1 for each creature each opponent you're attacking. So you've got 6 sixes with melee, trample, and haste. Boom. And flying, right? Because one of the reprints gives all your artifact creatures flying. Radiant Summit and the Glittering Massif are the 2 new lands there. So, notable reprints. Darksteel Reactor. I called this one getting reprinted here because it's just a nice alt win con that they like adding into precons. Those alt win cons that are like memey but still fun. So this one here is at the beginning of your upkeep, put a charge counter on it, and then when it has 20 or more charge counters on it, win the game. I will probably remove that from my deck because I think it's a bit of a cheap way to win, but it's still good and still fun. Maybe I'll keep it. I don't know. We've got Cloud Key. Great. Choose artifact. Now all your artifacts cost 1 less. Cyberdrive Awakener. Similar to that other one that gives it so that they all have, awaken all the things and they become 3/3s. This instead awakens them. They can become 4/4s. However, it also grants all your artifact creatures flying. We've got Tekthal Inquiry Dominus. This is the one that I was like, did they really just reprint this in a precon? Flying. If you proliferate twice. Absolutely bonkers. The only thing that would make this better than, this would be if it was an artifact creature as well. We've got Droira, Weatherlight Captain, another one that I did call that was going to get reprinted in here because it's just a great card and deserves to be in here. Whenever you cast a historic, draw a card. Alabo, Ancient Witness. Other artifact creatures you control have haste. Boom. It's great reprint. Again, whenever you attack with one of my artifact creatures, you get to deal damage to target and scry X. And that's just equal to the number of tapped artifacts you control. Absolutely great. Phyrexian Metamorph, copy something. Ripples of Potential, huge. Like pseudo Teferi's Protection, reprinted here. Great card. And a Proliferate on top of it, because why not? We've got Swan Song, counter, a great counter spell, right? Like counter something, and then they create a 2/2 bird. But it's only costing you 1 blue. Great to see a reprint here again. It was reprinted within the LTR precons, like the Lord of the Rings precons. So I'm really glad to see like an in-universe precon reprinted as well. So as for the thoughts, it's absolutely bonkers, busted in regards to the reprints, right? Like look at these reprints. Like the Cyberdrive Awakener is absolutely huge. The Tekthal's amazingly great in this precon. The Phyrexian Metamorph's really great too. Ripples of Potential hasn't been reprinted since its initial debut within LCI. Lost Caverns of Ixalan, precon, great card. Swan Song, amazing, right? Like just huge in regards to reprints. It forms the basis of a really, really great charge counter deck. And again, I am so happy that they went heavy into the charge counters here rather than just the +1/+1 counters. Charge counters don't get enough love, so it's great to see them here. And to make a precon around it is great. I love it. It's still got those +1/+1 counters. Don't get me wrong. Optimus Prime will be absolutely huge in this deck, giving them all +1/+1 counters. But it's good to see charge counters here. And there's a huge amount of proliferation in here that works really well. I would have liked to have seen some more spacecraft. We only got, we got the Face Commander as a spacecraft, and then I think it was 2 other ones, right? Like we got one, the Uthros, no, just one other one. In fact, I think the other precon actually had more spacecraft in it. But still, I'm not going to complain. It's still an amazing deck. I just would have liked to have seen more spacecraft, but you can grab them out of the main set and put them in here. So in summary, both of these decks are absolutely amazing. I would rank them, well, most likely, I would not be surprised to see both of them within my top 10 list that I do. Like I do top 10 precon list every time a new set comes out. I would not be surprised to see both of these in here. I would rank the World Shaper slightly above the Counter Intelligence because I do think it is an incredibly well-rounded out deck, but both are just very well crafted. Like, bunch of great new cards, and I just love that they are finally, whoever is making these new precons, it's amazing that you're finally taking it. So you're synergizing that main theme, synergizing the side themes, right? Like while the World Shaper deck is obviously primarily around lands and sacrificing lands, they also synergize it really well with just sacrifice altogether. So it's great. It's just wonderful. Synergizing just all the themes well together. It's the same with the Final Fantasy decks. They did really well. Now, I will say that I don't think that these are better than the Counter Blitz deck from OTJ from Final Fantasy. I don't think they're better than the Counter Blitz deck. I would put them roughly equal to the Limit Break deck from Final Fantasy, because I just think that they are, again, just well crafted, well rounded. They do everything that they want to. They do all those themes just very, very well, and just synergize well between all of their themes, which is just really great. So let me know what you guys think. Are you guys going to be picking up either of these two up? Let me know. Have a great day and goodbye.